This is Sunrise Extra, streaming live on Wave Now.
Now, we hope that you're enjoying this. We're going to be doing it every day from here on out, so you can stay with us right here at 7 o'clock until around 8-ish or so and get more local news.
And trying to bring so many things of different content, too, to keep you up to date with everything that's going on. But, of course, we've got to get a weather update with Tawana because I know that's what a lot of people are wondering. What should I wear today?
Something cool and comfortable. And I mean cool as in you look cool, but also cool as in keeping you cool, because we do have those warm temperatures coming our way. So the storm tracker now traveling through portions of downtown Louisville. Plenty of that sunshine beaming down on us as temperatures are sitting in the 60s for most locations, but still holding on to 72 degrees at the airport in Louisville. That humidity certainly on the lower side, with most of us in that humid category on our sticky meter. Usually we're in that sticky category as we're dealing with those. That humidity is certainly on the higher side, especially for this time of the year. So it's nice to get a little bit of a break from that. Clear skies as well for this morning. And we're going to keep our skies mainly clear even as we head into the afternoon, with highs today in the mid to upper 80s in most locations. Now looking ahead, those 90s are going to be back, and it looks like they're going to stick around for a while. I'll let you know how long some of that heat will remain in our forecast in just a bit.
Thank you, Tawana. Lawyers for Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson are now preparing to present their case. This morning, we'll hear from the defense and any witnesses they call up to support Houck and Lawson.
After 5 days of testimony, the prosecution has rested its case. Wave News reporter Alina Noakes breaks down the big takeaways at the Warren County Courthouse.
The defense for Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson argue no body, no weapon, no motive means no proof that Crystal Rogers is even dead. But Judge Charles Sims doesn't see it that way. In his eyes, there's more than enough evidence for a jury to come to the conclusion that Crystal Rogers was murdered. Multiple details don't add up in Houck's timeline, including what his day looked like on July 3rd and what he and Crystal did that night. For instance, he said Rogers was up until early in the morning on July 4th playing games on her phone. But cell phone data shows that her phone turned off manually at 11:57 p.m. and never turned back on. Then there are multiple witnesses who have testified that Houck asked the Lawsons for help getting rid of Crystal, one saying he saw Houck hand Joseph Lawson Rogers' keys that night. Plus, lots of circumstantial evidence tying the Houck family to the murder, including a car belonging to Anna Whitesides, Houck's grandmother. In that trunk, a hair similar to Rogers, and apparently a smell that a canine picked up as that of human remains. Then there's Joseph Lawson. There has been no definitive cell phone data tying him to the spot Rogers' car was found on the Bluegrass Parkway, even though Joseph's dad said he picked him up from there, and a witness claims Joseph called him from the BG and was with him when he got Rogers' keys. Then there's his dad's ex-wife, Rebecca Greer. She testified that Joseph told her he got paid $50,000 for moving a car. And his grandmother, Barbara Coulter, testified that in 2022, Joseph point blank told her, "Grandma, Stevie killed Crystal." Another witness said Lawson was overheard telling someone they had to pull Rogers' teeth and shave her head because, quote, that's what the hogs couldn't eat. Joseph was also overheard talking about burying Crystal's car with a skid steer. In speaking to the Ballard family, some feel very strongly that the evidence that's been presented is enough for this jury to convict both of these defendants. But more than anything, they just want to know what happened to Crystal Rogers and where she is. Now, this case is far from over. The defense still has to make their case, and they can do that Wednesday starting at 8:30. In Warren County, Alina Noakes, Wave News.
Our team in Bowling Green will continue to share updates on the defense's arguments starting this morning. You can follow along with our live blog on wave3.com. You can also get alerts on the biggest testimony statements sent to your phone by downloading the Wave News app.
A second man is now in jail in connection to a fight outside of a Louisville bar that left a man dead. Ronnie Watkins is charged with murder. Police say he was part of the fight outside of Corner Tavern on Mount Washington Road last week. The name of the man who died has not been released yet. Christopher Foley was also arrested and charged with murder in connection to the fight. Police say a witness told investigators Foley repeatedly hit the victim and claimed he owed Foley money. A third child is being charged for her alleged actions in a double shooting. LMPD says they arrested a 14-year-old girl for complicity to assault. It is the same charge filed against a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old girl in the same case. The shooting on West Chestnut Street sent 2 other girls to the hospital back in May. Both victims survived, though. LMPD says it does not expect to arrest anyone else in this investigation. Large groups of people taking over the streets late at night over the weekend. First in the
Highlands and now in Nulu.
After complaints from businesses there, Louisville's mayor says there will be change in the area. ABC, LMPD, and the mayor's office will meet with those owners today to work towards a solution. These are images from Saturday, June 21st. Police say as many as 250 people gathered outside of Corridor Garage Bar and in a parking lot near La Bodeguita. Officers cleared the crowd in about 30 minutes. Garage Bar offered to close early because of concerns people were bringing outside alcohol onto their property. Mayor Greenberg says he wants people to visit the stores and restaurants, but there are rules to follow.
When there are hundreds and hundreds of people that are drinking in public areas in the middle of the night, that is not permitted, that is not safe, and we will not allow that.
The mayor said businesses caught breaking the rules will be held accountable. The Nulu Business Association sent us a statement talking about safety and hiring their own off-duty LMPD officers. It says in part, quote, without more support and visible presence from LMPD, we don't see a reasonable solution to the current issues happening along Market Street. You can read their full statement in this story on wave3.com.
And coming up, President Trump's one big beautiful bill barely passed in the Senate yesterday.
We'll tell you how it could impact people here in our area if it passes the House. That's coming up on Wave Sunrise Extra.
They need to do it the right way.
For now, any data center projects are on pause in Oldham County.
Yesterday, the county's fiscal court voted 4-2 to put a 150-day moratorium on these kinds of projects in the county, including the proposed data center that would go on the site of a drive-in theater. Some opponents call this a win, but Wave News reporter Logan Perrone tells us not everyone is satisfied.
Oldham County leaders put a pause on data centers Tuesday in front of a packed house.
It's a win for the group.
Nathan Oberg is the president of We Are Oldham County, a nonprofit that's been pushing back on a proposed data center by Western Hospitality Partners. Tuesday's vote by the fiscal court will allow county leaders time to establish guidelines for any data center development, something Oberg says has been avoided in the current process.
They've been trying to weasel around every bit of that, and that's called spot zoning, and it's not legal in the state of Kentucky. We called them on it, and we won on that today.
Concerns over the proposed project with Western Hospitality Partners only worsened with the firing of Deputy Judge Joseph Ender. Before recusing himself Tuesday, Judge Executive David Vogel stated he terminated Ender after a loss of faith in him after finding out Ender recorded a meeting on May 22nd.
I asked everyone there if they had made the recording. Everyone in the room denied making the recording, but when I asked Mr. Ender about it, he said, I refuse to answer that question.
That audio was shared online Monday. In it, you can hear a Western Hospitality Partners representative suggest their new site at the Solbeck Drive-In be excluded from the moratorium.
I think from our perspective, the cleanest thing that would allow things to move forward, obviously, we can get an application together and get it filed before you guys actually act on a moratorium, would be to have that carve out for IPD, which covers the drive-in site.
That potential carve-out, which was not included as part of the moratorium, led to a number of people speaking out.
What it sounds like we're actually saying is no new applications unless you already slipped one through the door.
Short-term wins for long-term regret. That's not strategy, that's bad memory.
Including Dana Rich.
You don't get elected to public office to actively work against the will of the people.
Rich also criticized the firing of Ender in her remarks.
Joe Ender was looking out for the interest of Oldham County, which, as an Oldham County and myself, that is what we expect our local politicians to do.
Judge Executive Vogel did not agree to an on-camera interview, but did answer our questions Tuesday afternoon. He denies the allegations made by Joseph Ender and says he does not believe the company plans to take any legal action against the county for the moratorium. Oberg says if the process is going to continue, it needs to do so properly.
It's not zoned for it. It's not appropriate. All we ask is for them to do this the right way.
The pause is in place until November 28th.
Logan asked Attorney General Russell Coleman's office for comment on the audio tapes, and a spokesperson says, "We can neither confirm nor deny any investigation." And as part of his speech to the audience, Judge Executive Vogel said he welcomes a full and fair investigation by the Kentucky Attorney General.
Well, looking at our forecast right now, I guess we should just get used to it. Just say it's going to be hot out there, Tawana.
Yeah, but less humidity, which is so nice.
It is very, very nice. Being outside in the Wave Weather Garden earlier this morning, it felt so good. Usually it feels like you're just walking through soup or through a sauna. Not this morning, which is very nice. We're seeing temperatures mainly in the 60s, and our cool spot this morning, Olivia's going to love this, 61 degrees in North Vernon. I think we all need to go hang out in North Vernon this morning. 68 for those of you in Mumfordville, 65 in Cordon, 67 in Frankfort, but still at 72 degrees at the airport in Louisville. That humidity certainly on the lower side for today, so we'll take it. We'll take whatever improvements that we can get. Now, while we do have lower humidity, some of you still dealing with a little bit of that patchy fog because of that leftover moisture on the ground that we had from the rain yesterday, but overall it's very patchy, it's very light. You can see a little bit of it showing up on the camera in Adair County and also in the Bullitt County, but things overall very pleasant to start off the day. And notice in terms of that visibility, we are seeing some of that patchy fog showing up a little bit more in portions of Greene, Taylor, and Adair counties because you were the last ones to dry out yesterday. But overall, lower humidity for everyone for today. We are seeing clear skies for this morning, and we're going to keep those skies clear throughout all of your Wednesday, all because of high pressure that is in control of our weather. It's the same reason why we have that lower humidity. With it off towards our west, we have that northerly flow in play, pulling that drier air into our region. So we'll keep things sunny and warm despite the lower humidity. Highs today near 90 degrees. For tonight, we're turning to the 60s in most spots, hovering near 70 degrees though for the Louisville Metro. As you look ahead to the next 10 days, we do see the heat ramping up a little bit more, some low 90s showing up for your Thursday and also on Friday. And when we head into the weekend, we'll also watch the humidity starting to increase. So that means we're going to feel like the upper 90s on your Friday. And then once we get into Saturday and Sunday, we'll get that heat index near 100 degrees. Now, there is going to be a quick break in the heat once we get into next week as we start to add in some scattered showers and thunderstorms. We'll watch that heat breaking down across the eastern seaboard on Monday, allowing us to get some more of those scattered storms around for Monday afternoon and evening. Then again, as we get into the second half of your Tuesday, Wednesday, we can see some more of those downpours showing up here and there for the afternoon and evening hours. But then once we get into Thursday and Friday of next week, this is when we'll have a front moving into our region, increasing our rain chances a little bit more and also helping to drop our highs back down into the mid to upper 80s. Olivia.
All right, thanks, Tawana. President Donald Trump's sweeping domestic policy legislation called the Big Beautiful Bill narrowly won approval in the Republican-controlled Senate.
Some are worried about how it could impact those in our area, especially with proposed cuts to Medicaid. The Kentucky Center for Economic Policy estimates approximately 210,000 Kentuckians could lose their health care coverage over the next 10 years. That is because of the bill's plan to reduce federal Medicaid spending by $1 trillion. Now, there are some concerns about impacts on rural hospitals in Kentucky. Some have estimated more than 30 could close across the state.
90,000 Kentuckians that work in hospitals in the state. Those incomes are about $10,000 higher than the average income here in the state. And when they lose their jobs, particularly in rural areas, you're talking about entire local economies suffering, not just those places.
The bill also impacts middle-class people who get insurance through the state, with another more than 40,000 that would be uninsured if the bill passes. Indiana and Kentucky lawmakers are also making their opinions heard. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul has remained in opposition to the Big Beautiful Bill's passage. Indiana Governor Mike Braun spoke about the positive impact he thinks it will make.
At least $50 billion was added for hospital fund in the end. We don't have any of that money. All of it's borrowed. All of that spending will have to be borrowed, and this bill will lead to a much greater deficit over time, and I don't believe it's fiscally responsible.
This is just the opening kind of salvo of what needs to happen at the federal level. We can't raise taxes. We got to make sure those get extended, and then we need to start spending less than we take in.
That bill is now in the hands of the House. Still ahead, a Louisville tradition is coming back, and it's right around the corner.
Yeah, after the break, we'll bring you details that you need to know about Burger Week this year. That's all coming up on Sunrise Extra.
The 4th of July weekend is coming up, and good news for drivers. The price of gas has not been this low since 2021.
According to Gas Buddy, prices at the pump are expected to average between $3.10 and $3.15 per gallon nationally. That's down from $3.49 per gallon last year, so a big difference there. AAA is predicting a record 61.6 million people will travel somewhere during the holiday weekend. That's up more than 2% from last year. In Kentucky, AAA says the current average for gas prices is $2.87, so we're even lower than the national average. Love seeing that. And AAA also wants to help you avoid getting stuck in traffic, giving you an idea of when you should leave. So for today, tomorrow, and Friday, the best time to hit the road is before noon. And on Saturday and Sunday, drivers will want to travel before 11 a.m., so get an early jump on things.
Right, and that'll help you out for sure.
Well, hundreds of people will wave their American flags for the Jeffersonville 4th of July parade.
It's happening this Friday starting at 10 a.m. in downtown Jeffersonville. They'll have dozens of floats, fire engines, and clubs traveling down Spring Street for this annual parade. It will end near Werder Park for a special ceremony with music, face painting, and ice cream. The grand marshals of this year's parade, the Jeffersonville High School boys basketball team. They're the winners of the Indiana High School Basketball State Tournament. And lots of other 4th of July events going on too. On Friday, Kentucky Kingdom is hosting a Bluegrass and Booms event with fireworks, live music, and more. And in Crescent Hill, they have their annual 4th of July festival at the Peterson Duminal House with crafts, food, music, cake wheel, and more. It starts at 10 a.m. Paristown is hosting their 6th annual celebration with an outdoor market on Brent Street, plus train rides, live music, fireworks, and more. That also starts at 10 a.m. And Waterfront Park has their celebration. It'll go from 5 to 10 p.m. They'll have food, lots of kids' activities, a talent showcase, and more. You can go to Our Waterfront Park or ourwaterfront.org for more information.
Well, you'll soon be able to eat burgers, earn points, and win prizes, all for this year's Louisville Burger Week. It's making its return on July 14th through the 20th. Burger Week is when you can get burgers starting at just $7. Some of the restaurants participating include Burger Boy, Drake's, and Home Run Burgers and Fries. You can track where you eat on the Louisville Burger Week app, and if you check in at 4 or more locations, you'll be entered to win prizes. I love Home Run Burgers. That was my first job when I was 16 years old. I was, and I ate it all the time, and I still love it. So that tells you how good it is. I never got sick of it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of food, the Indiana State Fair is just 1 month away, and now we have a look at some of their fair food that they're offering this year.
And really different items for sure this year. Very unique things. Haven't heard of many of these before. How about a passion fruit boba lemonade shake-up? You know, those boba balls. We had the donut burger at the Kentucky State Fair. Hoosiers are serving up the bacon honey bun burger. And maybe meat's not your thing, you can try the all-vegan Indianapolis Philly. And if you're really adventurous, they have pickle fried Oreos. So that is a golden Oreo, a slice of pickle, fried in batter, then topped with dill seasoning and served up with ranch.
I'm not 100% sure I can get on board with that. Just give me a regular fried pickle or regular fried Oreo.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I would try it.
Maybe try it.
And everything with ranch is good. I love ranch.
People who love ranch really love it. I'm not one of those people. But a super sweet treat for the adult includes the blue cotton candy margarita, and it's garnished with real cotton candy, so you're really getting the fair experience there. The Dirty Dancing egg rolls are chicken Philly egg rolls covered in homemade hot honey lemon pepper buffalo sauce. And finally, a staple of state fairs is a classic funnel cake, but this one takes it a step further. It's covered in Butterfinger pieces and vanilla ice cream. Because why not?
Decadent, right?
I feel like I need to start working out right now just thinking about all of that. I mean, all that food looks and sounds so incredible, and you've got to try it because you're not going to get those combinations anywhere else.
That's so true. So that's the Indiana State Fair, which is in Indianapolis. Soon we have our fair to look forward to, and I will at least have 2 corn dogs.
We'll have to see what they're serving up this year because, like I said, I love the fried Oreos. Can't go wrong with them.
Yes. Okay. Stick around. We're going to have another look at your weather, and then Olivia will be back with some more news.
This Wave News Update is sponsored by Oxmoor Auto Group.
Good morning, I'm Shannon Kogan. A second man is now in jail in connection to a fight outside of a Louisville bar that left a man dead. Ronnie Watkins is charged with murder. Police say he was a part of the fight outside of Corner Tavern on Mount Washington Road last week. The name of the man who died has not been released. Christopher Foley was also arrested and charged with murder in connection with the fight. Police say a witness told investigators Foley repeatedly hit the victim and claimed he owed Foley money. Here is Tawana. Much lower humidity this morning.
Yeah, and that feels quite pleasant out there. It looks great as well on many of our Kentucky Mesonet cameras, anywhere from Oldham to Bullitt to Spencer and to Dare County, seeing all of that sunshine beaming down. And we were dealing with a little bit of some patchy fog in some spots, but now that sun is up and temperatures are starting to warm up a little bit more, that will quickly mix out. Your temperatures are in the 60s in most spots. In fact, our cool spot is North Vernon, currently at 61 degrees, while it's 72 still at the airport in Louisville, 65 for those of you in Fort Knox, and 64 right now in Columbia. A lot of us seeing that lower humidity to start off the day, and we're going to keep it that way even as we head into the afternoon. Clear skies this morning. That also sticks around for later on this afternoon as temperatures climb into the mid to upper 80s in most locations. In the metro, we can touch 90 degrees. Looking ahead to the next 10 days, here's what we have going on for tomorrow. Some more of those low 90s trying to show up as we keep that humidity relatively low for this time of the year. Once we head into the 4th of July weekend, we are going to be seeing more of that heat building then, as the humidity also will be on the rise. And we'll also keep an eye on some scattered showers and thunderstorms trying to show up once we get into next week, as we have highs then in the upper 80s and low 90s. But as of right now, a pretty decent stretch of dry weather on the way.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us here on Sunrise Extra. A massive investigation. The feds busted 20 people from Louisville in California in 2 separate drug investigations. Investigators seized more than 100 guns and over $1 million worth of meth and fentanyl. Wave News troubleshooter Mark Stevens finds the new U.S. attorney promised to keep targeting violent crimes.
2 federal investigations started last spring and summer brought drug trafficking, gun, and money laundering charges against 20 people. U.S. Attorney Kyle Bumgarner says accountability is a must.
Criminals will be held account in federal court and face significant punishment.
Punishment for those facing drug charges include a minimum 10 years behind bars.
We are each committed to driving the violence from our city and the dope from our neighborhoods.
Investigators seized 30 pounds of meth and 47 pounds of fentanyl in one investigation. A second seized 130,000 fentanyl pills disguised as legitimate prescription drugs. Both investigations seized a total of 112 guns. 42 were stolen.
The majority of the 42 stolen firearms that were recovered in this investigation were stolen from vehicles. It is likely that many of the other firearms that we seized or purchased during the investigation were also stolen.
The FBI says one defendant, 44-year-old Terry Matthews, is on the run. They've asked for the public's help finding him. Many of those charged were arrested in Kentucky, although several were arrested in California and Nevada. Bumgarner says the cases leave a trail to the southern border.
That all of our significant drug cases ultimately are transnational cases. These cases all face the same drugs that are being manufactured south of the border.
Bumgarner says Louisville streets are getting safer, but he says more investigations are needed to keep driving down violent crime.
The U.S. Attorney says the investigations are ongoing and many of the defendants are scheduled to face trial later this month. Federal officials are releasing information about one of the largest healthcare fraud schemes in DOJ history. We've also learned about the impacts here locally. More than $15 billion in false claims were uncovered. Police seized more than $245 million in cash, luxury cars, and other assets. As part of the sweeping crackdown, officials arrested suspects based in Russia, Eastern Europe, Pakistan, and other countries. The alleged $14 billion fraud is more than twice the previous record in the Justice Department's annual healthcare fraud crackdown.
These criminals didn't just steal someone else's money. They stole from you. Every fraudulent claim, every fake billing, every kickback scheme represents money taken directly from the pockets of American taxpayers who fund these essential programs through their hard work and sacrifice.
Nearly 100 licensed medical professionals were charged, including 25 doctors. And we've learned about the people charged in our area. 43-year-old Christina Coomer of Louisville is charged with theft of oxycodone from the pharmacy where she worked. The Crestwood man, 40-year-old Matthew Elkins, is charged with tampering with drugs along with stealing controlled substances. 3 people, 41-year-old Ashley Barnett from Louisville, 37-year-old Laura Webb from Springfield, and 43-year-old Rachel Goldstein from Jeffersonville were all charged as well. They're accused of using registration numbers, fake prescriptions, and false claims to get drugs, including oxycodone and hydrocodone. In Madison, Indiana, 58-year-old Christy Orwig is accused of stealing patient drugs from her workplace for her own personal use. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says the new report shows serious crime is actually dropping in our state. Governor Beshear says overall serious crime rates in 2024 dropped by nearly 8%. That's compared to 2023. Now, Beshear says that includes around 12% drops in homicide, drug crimes, and sexual offenses. The only major increase across the state was crimes connected to gambling, and that data shows that it rose 1,400%. Indiana Governor Mike Braun continues to make good on a promise to spend more time in southern Indiana. The former U.S. Senator was in New Albany this week promoting recent legislation. He spoke to Wave News reporter David Mattingly about the budget battle that's happening in Washington.
Braun was in New Albany to promote a bipartisan victory in the Indiana legislature, but he also had some strong comments about what was happening in Congress. As a U.S. Senator, Mike Braun was a conservative voice against growing the federal debt. Now, governor of Indiana, he applauds Trump administration spending cuts.
They have to get back in line. I was the loudest voice on that when I was there for 6 years. It gives me pleasure to be here, to where I'm a governor working with a legislature. It's going to show how government is run well.
2 months after passing a bipartisan law allowing senior Hoosiers choices for services outside of Medicaid, Braun came to New Albany to reenact his signature.
Whenever you're weaving choice and options into anything, it's going to always enable probably a better result because you're not fixed into just one.
In office just since January, Braun is already building a legacy of fiscal restraint and smaller government. He describes the Trump administration's budget as just the first salvo of what needs to be done to cut spending on the federal level.
All the rest of us have to do it. Local governments, school districts, state governments, households. Sooner or later, they'll get it into their thick heads that if you don't do it, you're going to be probably addressing problems the hard way.
Braun also called for extending federal tax cuts and for the federal government to spend less than it is taking in. David Mattingly, Wave News.
A new report from Kentucky's Attorney General outlines what led to delays at polling locations in Jefferson County on Election Day. Russell Coleman's office says short staffing and internet connectivity caused delays at polling locations across the county. The report says there was no criminal wrongdoing. A lawsuit was filed to extend voting hours on Election Day, but that was denied by a judge. The county clerk's office says the issues will be fixed ahead of the next general election in 2026. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Thanks for sticking with us here on Sunrise Extra. I'm Olivia Russell. A woman claims LMDC staff denied her HIV medication while in detention and says she'd like to see some changes inside the facility. Sasha Sloan is suing LMDC and Louisville Metro government for physical injuries and emotional distress. Sloan claims she was denied her medication and became seriously ill while she was in jail for months in 2024. The lawsuit also alleges an LMDC officer told other inmates Sloan was HIV positive, and that led to harassment. Sloan says no other inmate should have to suffer the same experience.
That when you go down into that system, it's nowhere near what you expect from safety, sanity, your physical. It's not that way, and I think it needs to be brought attention to so there could be change. I'm not the only one, definitely not the only one, but I pray the last.
An LMDC spokesperson says they cannot comment on pending litigation, but did say, quote, LMDC does routinely administer HIV medications to those with valid prescriptions. We reached out to Louisville Metro government as well for comment on the lawsuit, but have not heard back. Kentucky Auditor Allison Ball released a special examination of the Kentucky Department of Education. The review comes after a bill passed in 2024 requiring an audit of KDE. The auditor's review found the Department of Education allowed $250 million in SEEK funds to lapse instead of reallocating that money to cover funding shortfalls. Also, Auditor Ball highlighted the department's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI efforts, calling it a waste of money. She said there's been no noticeable difference difference in student outcomes. The audit also found the KDE and KHSAA are not mitigating the risk of sexual harassment and abuse of student athletes. Auditor Ball says following this audit, the KDE created resources for sexual assault prevention and awareness. The report says the KDE and the Kentucky Board of Education lack measurable benchmarks for gauging student success. She adds the State Board of Education is failing to oversee KDE. Well, Eastern Kentucky University and Nicholas County Schools are teaming up to tackle the teacher shortage. The district will now offer scholarships to paraeducators, hoping they earn a teaching degree from EKU in just 3 years. EKU's Dean of the College of Education and Applied Human Sciences says they make great teachers because they're classroom ready.
Getting more of them is really one major path forward to solving our teacher shortage. Research has shown that the most important factor in a child's education outside their family situation is the teacher.
She says Nicholas County is hopefully leading the way for others. One of Kentucky's top health leaders says a lack of measles vaccinations is to blame for the state's current outbreak. The Cabinet of Health and Family Services is tracking 5 measles cases in Woodford, Todd, and Fayette counties. Cabinet Secretary Dr. Stephen Stack says teams are working to contain the highly contagious virus. Stack says if you're fully vaccinated, you have nothing to worry about. But he also says negative conversations about vaccines in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic have put more people at risk.
I believe there's nothing more important to a parent than the safety and well-being of their child. I think it is a tragedy that people in leadership are confusing the public and casting doubt about the value and the safety of vaccines when the medical establishment overwhelmingly, slam dunk overwhelmingly, supports immunization as one of the most powerful things humanity has ever done.
CHFS has a hotline for people to call about measles cases. That number is up on this story on wave3.com. In Indiana, a pack of cigarettes now carries a $3 state tax, up from $1. For a carton, the tax has climbed from $10 up to $30. The increase is already hitting consumers' wallets. Both those who buy and sell cigarettes think this could mean big changes for them. Indiana lawmakers passed the measure as part of their new 2-year budget, aiming to generate revenue and discourage smoking. Shop owners are worried that customers might cross state lines for cheaper prices or just cut back on how much they buy. Those at the Main Street Smoke Shop say they're preparing for a challenging time.
Because I wasn't expecting them to go up like $3 or whatever they did. And then, yeah, I've had some people come in, they were like, how much are the classics? Because they don't have a price on them right now. And then I'll tell them they're like $7, $8, and they're like, oh, what's the cheapest you have? And it's like, yeah, we can already see that they're going for the cheapest ones that we have on the shelf.
Indiana state lawmakers say the long-term impacts will be increased revenue to fund different state programs. They also hope the higher prices will cut down on smoking, especially among young people. Well, it's easy to stay cool this summer if you visit Kentucky Kingdom, and now a new partnership invites you to dive into even more fun. For the first time ever, Kentucky Kingdom pass holders can get 50% off general admission to the Newport Aquarium. All you have to do to get that discounted ticket is to show your gold or diamond season pass at the aquarium ticket window. You can get tickets online using the promo code KYKING on the official offer page, then show your pass at the ticket window. Both Kentucky Kingdom and the Newport Aquarium are open every day, but a heads up, those hours may differ with the 4th of July holiday this Friday, but that's, hey, still a very easy road trip to take up to Cincinnati. If you have another opportunity to be a hero today, you can do that by donating blood, and you can give blood today at the Stars, Stripes, and Pints Blood Drive. The blood drive's last day is today at the UAW Union Hall on Fern Valley Road. You can donate blood from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The American Red Cross says donors of all blood types are needed right now, especially those with type O blood. If you donate, you'll get some free perks, including a chicken dinner, a ticket to a Six Flags amusement park, including Kings Island, and a pair of sunglasses. Well, Food Truck Wednesday returns to downtown today. That's happening from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on South 4th Street. You can enjoy live music and food trucks, and some of the participating food trucks include Lorna's Really Good Lemonade, Mama Rose Cajun Food Truck, and Three Daughters Food Truck. That is always so good, and I know it's only breakfast time, but maybe you can plan ahead for lunchtime. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back with more Wave Extra right after this. Well, this is something I saw online.
Well, there was a mass gathering in downtown Somerset Saturday night, likely more than tripling the town's population for a short amount of time. But people tell me that it's what happened after the event that has given them more attention than what happened during it.
And we made history in Somerset, Kentucky.
Raymond Kahn was behind the wheel of the retrofitted General Lee that made the jump seen by thousands when it happened, and possibly millions after the video went viral. Kahn says he's talked to people from all over the world since Saturday night. He says the jump presented a lot of challenges, like taking off a ramp through a fountain, then landing on a downhill slope. The car was totaled when it landed, but he says it went just as planned, and he was not injured at all. He says it's just a thrill seeing the response it received then and now.
America is back. America is back. You can't get more American than jumping the General Lee with 40,000 fans, American flags everywhere.
It was just a big day. It was probably the largest public gathering in the history of Pulaski County.
And people tell me that this, of course, is giving Summer Nights Cruise tremendous publicity. They are celebrating their 25th anniversary, and they say that this event alone has generated millions of dollars for the local economy.
And that was something wild to see. It's already going viral on social media. It brought about 30,000 people to Somerset. Something so cool and something I'm sure people will never forget. And the car used in the jump was not a '69 Dodge Charger. It was actually a 2000 Mercury, and they made it look like the Dodge Charger, but still so cool. Well, the WNBA Commissioner's Cup Championship was last night between the Indiana Fever and the first-place Minnesota Lynx. The Fever went into the game as 10-point underdogs, playing on the Lynx home floor, and without their superstar Caitlin Clark, who is out with an injury right now. The Lynx started off quick, jumping out to an 8-point lead to end the first quarter. This is when the Fever turned it around, though. They outscored the Lynx by 13 in the second quarter, held them to 0 points in the last 8 minutes of the first half. The Fever rode that momentum in the second half, ultimately claiming the in-season championship by a score of 74-59. The Fever's players will share a $500,000 prize pool and take home the trophy. The U.S. men's national soccer team has a chance to book their names into the Gold Cup final tonight. They'll face Guatemala in the semifinal tonight in St. Louis. The U.S. had to use penalty kicks to defeat Costa Rica in the quarterfinals after failing to win in regulation. Guatemala, on the other hand, entered the tournament as the third lowest ranked team. With one upset at a time, though, the squad now finds itself in the semifinals for the first time since 1996. It's been 29 years since then. Kickoff for tonight's game is at 7 p.m., and you can watch it on FS1. The unexpected happened at Wimbledon when number 2 seed Coco Gauff was eliminated in her first round match. Gauff was expected to go far in the tournament as she was coming off winning the French Open last month. She lost that match yesterday in straight sets, losing 7-6 and 6-1. So far this year's Wimbledon has been a tournament of upsets as Gauff became the 4th woman in the top 10 rankings to lose in the first round. So something clearly happening there. It also marks the first time since the Open era began in 1968 that 2 of the top 3 women's seeds were eliminated in the first round, as Jessica Pegula was also defeated yesterday. But I'm sure Coco will bounce back just fine. She's incredible. Well, Michael Brown is one of the highest ranked recruits to ever sign with U of L basketball, and before he even puts on that Cardinal uniform, he has fans thinking big for next season. Brown and Team USA took on Cameroon yesterday afternoon, and Brown, he put on a show. Brown led all scorers with a whopping 29 points, 5 for 6 from 3, and 8 assists. The Louisville native and number 1 recruit of next year's class, Tyron Stokes, added 10 points of his own. Just before the half, UK freshman Jasper Johnson with the steal in transition 3. He went on to score 8 points. Team USA wins big 129-70 to finish group play undefeated. They play Jordan in the round of 16 today. Well, from current Cats to former Cats, breaking the bank, former UK product and NBA Finals MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander signed the Supermax contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He signed a 4-year deal, $285 million. That's the richest contract in league history. I don't even know what I would do with $285 million. That is massive.
And we're now just 9 days away from the PGA Tour making a stop at Hurstbourne Country Club for the ISCO Championship. The local players on the tour are already feeling the excitement. St. X grad Steven Stallings played his college golf at UK, and he played in the ISCO tournament when it was held just outside of Lexington. He says the opportunity to host the tournament is something the city of Louisville just couldn't pass up.
I thought it was a great opportunity for the city of Louisville. I mean, I think Louisville needs pro sports, and I think Louisville will sell it out, and I think the PGA Tour will only want to grow in the city of Louisville. So I think it's just a cool opportunity for the town.
And plenty of tickets are still available. They can be purchased on iscochampionship.com. I'm personally rooting for Steven. Awesome to see him make it to that level. I actually knew him when we were growing up at St. Patrick's. So a Louisville guy. Can't wait to see how many other players will be playing in that. I believe that list will be released on Friday. And our Sunrise team will actually be out there live throughout the week. So we have so many fun things that you can see out there ready for the ISCO Championship. Can't wait. Thanks so much for joining us for Wave Sunrise Extra. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Hope you have a great day.